So I do want to start by introducing myself. My name is Sarah Tilley. I am the event specialist here for Career Services. I work on the Tahlequah campus. Essentially, I just plan the career events. So that's our career fairs, our workshops, our webinars, and things like that. So if you guys ever have questions, feel free to email me. My information is on our Career Services website. You can get to that by just going to the NSU homepage and just typing in Career Services. So as everyone knows, this is the Ready, Set, Interview webinar. Today we'll be going over some tips and tricks on how to interview like a professional. Today we actually have a guest speaker. Her name is Kristis Background. She is actually an NSU alumni. She is the Fastenal Tahlequah branch or Tahlequah location general manager. So she is actually in town. So if you guys ever have any questions, you know, after this, I'm sure she's going to give you her contact information and she would love to hear from you. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and give it over to Kristis, and we'll go ahead and get started. But like I said, we are having a little bit of technical difficulties with the PowerPoint. So if that's not able to come up or, you know, you can't see that and it's supposed to be seen, go ahead and let us know in this chat box. So Kristis, feel free to go ahead and take it away.
Okay, hi guys, I'm Kristis Eubanks, Fastenal Tahlequah General Manager. If you guys know where Atwood's is or Payless Shoes in town, our store is directly behind there. Fastenal is an industrial supply company, so we sell tools, nuts, bolts, safety supplies, other things of that sort to contractors or warehouses, industrial type places around here. There's not a lot of industry, so here in Tahlequah we supply a lot of equipment to Cherokee Nation. Northeastern State University is one of my customers. So I cover Stillwell, Tahlequah, and the Lake and River region. I have been with Fastenal for 5 years. Tell you a little bit about where I came from so that you can understand kind of why I feel like I can give you some good tips on interviewing. I graduated from Northeastern State University in 2006 with a marketing degree, College of Business Technology. I had ambition to open my own bridal salon, become an event coordinator, maybe do some wedding planning, open a chapel, that sort of thing, you know, little girls, big dreams. And I graduated in 2006 and tried to get a job doing those things. I tried to go out of state to do some sort of catering or special events, and then I tried to work at bridal salons, and the fact was that nothing really paid the bills and the hours were kind of crazy. I was expected to work nights and weekends. Maybe there weren't things like insurance or benefits, things that when I was 22 years old I really didn't care about at that point, but knew that it was something that in the long term I would have to do. And I went to Indeed or Tulsa Help Wanted, or actually I think it was Tulsa Help Wanted at that time. Indeed didn't really exist, and was just applying to anything and everything that said marketing in it and tried to get a job. Got a call from Hilti Tool Company, which was then headquartered in Tulsa, Oklahoma, one of the largest manufacturers and best known companies for their industrial grade tools. Went to interview with them, had the most difficult interview that I think could exist. I had 5 interviews, each a more and more technical type interview, more stressful. It was one of those things where after every single interview, I came back and cried. I was like, oh my gosh, they hated me. I'm not going to get the job. And I wanted a job so bad. I needed a job. I needed to pay my bills. And so no, you're good. Sorry, we're having some issues over here. So I went, and the last interview that I had was with a woman. And of course, Hilti Tool Company was a man's type environment. And she said to me, tell me about a time that you wanted something that you couldn't get. And I told her about a time when I was in college and I wanted to work at Kimberly's Prom and Bridal. You guys probably know it as the dress shop downtown with the big white pillars. I really, really wanted to work there because that's the kind of job that I wanted when I grew up. And I Went there and tried to get a job. Kim didn't need help. Went there again. She didn't need help. Went there again. And it was like, seriously, I just want to work here. I need to learn the business. This is what I want to do. And my persistence with Kimberly, and my ambition and the way that I communicated my desires to her allowed her to know that I was serious. And with that being said, she went ahead and gave me a job. And when I told that story to this woman that interviewed me at Hilti, you know, it had nothing to do with tools. It had nothing to do with anything of that sort. But she later told me, after she had hired me, that that is the reason that she gave me the job. I didn't look the part. I didn't have the technical expertise. They were looking for somebody that had ambition and showed drive, and that is what she saw in me. And so I'm here today to talk to you about how to sell yourself and how to use transitional skills when you're interviewing. So maybe what you have, you know, maybe you have sorority or fraternity experience, or perhaps you have experience in your church or doing some nonprofit work, or maybe you just help your dad on the weekends. There's lots of different types of experience that you can have that aren't necessarily work experience that are still very relevant in the job force. I worked for Hilti for 5 years. I took a promotion every single year that I was there. And in my 5th year at Hilti, I ran the store at 31st in Garnett. Then my husband decided that we needed to make some money, and he moved us out west. And we worked in the oil field for 5 years. Well, that's not true. 3 years we were out there, and it was terrible. I hated it. Medford, Oklahoma, flatlands, it was not fun. But what I did indeed learn is that there are not jobs everywhere. And I was able to get in at Fastenal as an entry-level employee, worked my way up to a district manager position. I was covering 10 stores, had 52 employees under me. So I have interviewed for lots of jobs, and I have interviewed lots of people. I now have 3 children at home and am back at home in Tahlequah. I'm proud to be here with you guys today. Now I'm going to try and see if I can get you guys online. Do you all see the Fastenal slideshow up at all? Looks like they're working on getting the display up for you. We'll give it a couple more seconds here and see if you guys can't see the slideshow. Oh, they said they see it, or they did, Sarah. Now I see you. Oh. Okay, so you guys can see it now, huh? I'm assuming that you can see it. I can't see myself, so if I'm not making eye contact with you, I apologize. That's one thing that we will talk about is eye contact is very important. Smiling, sitting up straight, those sort of nonverbal cues are very important.
Great. So just go ahead and start.
Perfect. Yep. Okay, guys. Ready, set, interview. I'm Christy, and we're going to talk about what I think is important in interviewing people. Okay, Fastenal, I talked about a little bit. Fastenal is the industrial supply company. We have been in business as of this week 50 years. We closed at 50 on NASDAQ this week also, so that was kind of exciting. We have nearly 20,000 employees. We do $4 billion in sales, and we are a continuous growth company. So that was the end of 2016. Growth every single day. I'm expected to hit growth in my store. My salespeople are expected to hit growth in their numbers. So we'll probably hit 5 billion this year. I haven't actually heard where we're on track to hit, but it is coming. We have our own fleet and logistics support team, trucks. We have industrial vending machines. You guys may or may not have heard about that, but you know, just like a soda machine, except you have WD-40 and things of that sort in there. So that's a little bit about our company. If you want to learn more about Fastenal, I could talk about it all day long, but today we're here to talk about you and your future and interviewing. We'll keep going. So NSU in blue. I am proud to be an NSU alumni. I'm also proud of my blue team, which is my Fastenal team here in town. I'm the manager. I have had many NSU students work for me. Currently, Catherine Peacock works for me in sales support part-time. Zach Hammock, a baseball player here in town, he works as sales support part-time. Lane Robertson, also he is a Kappa Sig, I believe. He works for me. Tori Gleaves was a Delta Zeta from here on site, and she is now, I trained her for 2 years at my store. She now runs the inside sales at our largest store in Tulsa, Oklahoma. So very, very proud of her that she's taken a good position. She probably will make some really good money this year as her first year out of college. So good for her. Kyle Huey is actually my manager. He's an NSU alum. Kyle Lewandowski graduated in the safety program here. He's a regional safety specialist. So he worked for a long time, about 5 years, as a safety specialist in our area, but now he's promoted to Winona, Minnesota, where he now is a lead trainer and manager of the safety team. Cody Bearer, also an NSU student. He is out of Arkansas now as a safety specialist. Preston Karn, safety specialist from NSU. Bruce Peacock is even older than me, so I know you guys don't know him, but he is Katie Peacock's dad, and he runs the store over in Enid, Oklahoma. And Del Hampton, also one of our older alumni, he is an OEM specialist, so he manages the fasteners that go into equipment that we actually buy in a retail location. All right, today we're going to talk about selling yourself to an interviewer. You guys have to set yourself apart when it comes to interviewing, and again, it's not necessarily about the resume all the time, because the resume is black and white, and when you go into an interview, you are now live and in person with that interviewer, and we are going to talk about steps to take before the interview, during the interview, and at the end of the interview to set yourself apart. I reached out to our corporate marketing team to say, do you have any formal interview tips? And they didn't really have anything in a presentation form that Fastenal does. So this is what you get from them, and the rest is out of my heart of hearts. Fastenal interview tips from our VP of Marketing in Winona, Minnesota. So when she's conducting an interview, she likes to see candidates come prepared with an interview or with a resume and a portfolio. So I would never have taken a portfolio to an interview whenever I was fresh out of college. I honestly didn't even know what that meant. But every year as I worked in the field, I realized that it's very, very, very important to have a portfolio. So you have your resume, you email that, or you submit that when you apply online. But then you need to build your portfolio. So maybe you have logged community service hours. Stick that in a binder. Maybe you have any sort of words of recommendation, certificates, training, anything that you can show that you have done on paper. Put that in a binder, put it in a nice format, and you know, it may just be a 3-ring binder, or it could just be a little pamphlet of sorts, but something to present to that interviewer, to give them in person that they can look at and go, not only, okay, is this person accomplished, they've done this, but also, well, they came prepared, and that's a step more than most people will do. So she also says that she narrows in on experiences that candidates speak to when answering questions. Even if those experiences aren't from the same field, being able to relate work or classroom experiences to the position is a plus. We're going to talk a lot about that. I call that transitional skills. Again, it doesn't matter what you have done. It only matters how you can relate that to the work that you will be doing. And after the interview, she always appreciates receiving a thank you note or an email. This helps the candidate stick out, and it also shows eagerness and anticipation, or appreciation, sorry for that. So think about, you may be one of 30 people applying for the job, and a thank you may seem silly to you, but it really does make it important when it comes to that interviewer's eyes. All right. I put these on here because it's our 4 core values, and that's one of the reasons that I choose to work for Fastenal. Our core values are ambition, innovation, teamwork, and integrity. I won't go into those because they don't matter for today's topics. However, what does matter is it's really important that you choose a company that you feel you fit with, and that you're able to communicate why you would fit with that company. So before the interview, obviously you have your resume. You're going to have your cover letter. I'm sure you guys have talked about resumes and cover letters in the past. If you have any questions about that, or you would like someone to review them, please bring them to me or Career Services. We'll be happy to help you with that. But this third bullet is really what I want to talk about in this slide, and that is researching the company. I have had people come interview with me in a long dress and flip-flops, and of course flip-flops are not appropriate interview attire, but even coming to an interview at Fastenal in a skirt, even a suit would not be considered appropriate, because you have to research the company, understand what the job is that you're applying for. If you're working for me, you're expected to be out in the field in a truck, unloading and loading, selling to people, whether that be high-level people in an office, or it could be the maintenance guy in the shop, or the janitor. It could be everyone in between. So it's very important that you understand what the job you're applying for is, and who you're applying. Well, that's not what I'm going to say. Who's going to be interviewing you? So is this going to be like a general manager that's local? Is this a big wig? Maybe you need to step it up a bit. Understand the company, who you're interviewing with, and what your duties would be. And preparing. Don't just go in there and think, oh, I'll wing it. I can just talk about myself. Nobody is successful by just winging it. If you've been successful by just winging it, you have a God-given talent, and more power to you. I have a 6-year-old daughter who, you guys may or may not think this is silly, but she competes in pageants. She's currently Royal International Miss Oklahoma. So one of the things that she's expected to do is to go into an interview with a panel of judges. Very, very similar to what you will be doing. She may have 50 other girls that are interviewing for that spot, and she has to stand out. So we prepare, and she practices, and we talk about questions that maybe she may be asked. In her world, it's what's your favorite book and why? What's your favorite color and why? But in your world, it could be, where do you see yourself in 5 years and why? What do you know about our company and what makes you want to work here? There's lots of different questions that are out there on the internet, or Career Services can hook you up with, that take a lot of thought. They're not just yes or no answers. You need to be able to always give a why in the answer. And practice makes perfect. And, as an interviewer, I don't have any problem when someone sits there and thinks about it and takes a pause and then gives me an answer. But a lot of times, if it's just, in 5 years, I see myself married. Okay, great. Do you have an ambition for your job? What do you have in 5 years that is going to value me? How are you going to make me money? How are you going to improve my business? And your answers need to be really directed towards that interviewer and what they're looking for, because they don't care if you're going to be married. I plan to be married in 5 years, have a full-time position at your company where I'm able to work 8 to 5 Monday through Friday and have medical insurance. That's one of the things I really am drawn to your company for, is the work-life balance. That's the kind of answer that would get an interviewer's attention. So the best preparation for tomorrow is what you do today. All right, like I said, your resume and cover letter you probably already have, but you need to develop, understand, and outline your transferable skills. That's a word I'm going to probably use more than you want to hear today. Transferable skills are the skills and abilities that are relevant and helpful across different areas of life, socially, professionally, and here in school. So we talked about anything that you do on campus, maybe, and my examples, I apologize if they don't relate to you. I only am giving examples that I'm familiar with. So I'll try and venture out of my realm of comfort, but maybe you were you were an athlete, you were on the soccer team or something like that, and you were able to lead a game that you won against a competitor that you were really hoping to beat, and it was a tough game. You can speak to that sort of instance and how your leadership skills were able to thrust you into victory and these action verbs that make you sound very exciting and very admirable, these words that make people want to grab a hold of you and gravitate towards you. Just speaking kind of blandly, everybody can do that. So again, preparing and using those action verbs that make people intrigued by you. They want to know more. Tell me more. Tell me your story. So focus on successes and accomplishments. Again, very similar to the example I just gave. I was in a sorority and we had to raise $1,000. So we did this particular activity and we raised $1,500 and were able to donate that to charity. So we were successful. We used action verbs, why that would be relevant. So you need to tie that back into why it's relevant to the company. So I was able to raise this $1,500 by going out and talking to people and encouraging them to donate for our cause. Well, now you sound like you're not scared. You're ready to get out there. You're ready to be eager, but also that you have good communication skills, you're ambitious, things like that. So tie it back into the needs of that particular job. And of course, be honest. Don't fluff your resume. Don't fluff your interview, because it's very disappointing when you hire somebody and then they come in to work for you and they are not what you thought that they were going to be when you interviewed them. And in the end, you will not keep the job, because interviewers hire people that they think will be great. And if they're not great, they have a whole list of other people that will be as great. So don't think that you're not replaceable. Every one of us are replaceable. All right, transferable skills. I'm not going to go over all of these in detail because you guys can read it. You can check off. This is kind of not a spreadsheet, but a document that if I were you, I would probably print this. I would take my pen and I would start highlighting. I would check mark those skills that are relevant to you, and then come up with some examples, write them down and practice them. So your communication skills are transferable. Again, come up with an example where you were able to communicate a cause or an effort to somebody and that they bought into it. Collaboration. In my world, we call that teamwork. Being able to work with other people to execute a cause and get a result. Leadership, of course, is being able to take that cause and own it and go out there and make it successful because of your leadership. And leadership doesn't mean you do it yourself. It means that you are able to do something and get results by influencing other people to do those things for you. And in my world, also, I do them with, because I believe that a leader also works with their team. All right, competency. So adaptability. Let's see. Sorry about that. We had a phone call over here. Adaptability. So taking the initiative to further enhance one's skill set and be creative in ways of thinking or approaches that allow for action, reflection, failure, resilience in an ever-changing world. Again, think about my situation, if you would, for a moment. I was 22 years old and I went to work for a tool company selling tools. And then I had to go work in the oil field where there's a bunch of guys cussing and spitting and dirty and inappropriate in every single possible way. Being able to adapt and overcome to your different environments is very important. And being able to give an example of when you have done that is also very important. So I was able to go into this job site. This is an example, not a real life story. Here's a good real life story. I had a girl come up to me whenever I was a district manager. So I was, 31 at the time, had taken a district manager position, had 10 stores under me, 52 employees. And she comes up to me and she looks me up and down and she goes, well, we know how you got your job. Excuse me? And how is that? And her response was, well, I know what I have to do when I'm out in the field to get orders from those guys. And what she was insinuating is that she was flirting to get job orders and things of that sort. But what my response to her is a way that I am adaptable. And that is, I'm sorry that you think that that's the way that you have to get business. But I believe that if you present yourself in a professional manner and that you provide solutions and you're honest and professional, that you will get more business and long-term business from those customers than you will one-time orders. So that's an example of some time when you're able to adapt and overcome in a situation that's maybe uncomfortable for you, or a lot of times maybe you don't know the answer. Somebody wants to know the answer and you don't know it. You have to adapt and overcome. Get on the internet. Google is a great tool these days. So go research, source, and provide solutions. Your analytical skills, again, being able to take black and white and turn it into something very colorful, analyzing and producing something that's very intriguing to a customer, a vendor, a prospect, anything of that sort. And technology, you guys don't have any problem with that, obviously, because you're using your webinar today, but there are a lot of people out there that still can't type on. They can't not look at the keyboard when they're typing, and it's very important to be able to tell people how you use technology. I ask every single person that I employ, tell me about your computer skills. Yeah, I have computer skills. Not what I want to know. Do you use Excel? How can you use Excel? Do you know formulas? Do you know how to use Access, which I don't think very many people use anymore? How quick can you type? Different companies are looking for different types of technical skills. I'm looking for the kind of technical skills that can produce reports and analyze reports. But some companies are looking for programmers. Some people are looking for different things. I don't really know because I'm not in that field, but being able to troubleshoot and use that technology to provide a solution to that company and talk about it. That's the most important part, being able to talk about it. Don't just say, yes, I know how to use computers, or yes, I have technical expertise. Give examples. All right, competency. So self-awareness, integrity and ethics, and brand. Every single one of these transferable skills, again, guys, are so important. Print it off, check, because every one of them is covered in our interviews. And when we're talking about that real quick, I do want to make note, in the world of human resources these days, and if you guys have had business classes, you probably have covered this, most companies have set interview questions. It's not, okay, who's the coolest person? Who do I like the best? Who do I see being my buddy? It's really formal and professional, and it's fair. Everybody is open to hiring whomever is a candidate, and it's the best candidate. Doesn't matter who you are or what your background is, it is the best fit candidate. And in order to make that fair, there are black and white questions, and you are only allowed to ask certain questions. And that's in order to get a fair outcome of your candidate pool. So again, whenever I interview, I have 30 questions I can ask. I ask the exact same questions to every single employee, and every one of those questions that is given to me from human resources is about these transferable skills. They want to know, how self-aware are you? What are your technical expertise? How do you communicate? How do you stay organized? So you're going to see it everywhere you go and in every single interview that you have. So self-awareness. What are your strengths and weaknesses? What are your core values? How do you present yourself? These are the kind of questions that they're going to ask that cover these particular topics. So, you know, one of the questions that we ask is, integrity is one of our core values. How do you define integrity? Well, everybody may define integrity differently. Everybody might have a story about integrity. I like to say that integrity is doing the right thing when nobody is looking. For example, I manage a store that has cash on hand, and oftentimes it is easy to go and spend the money. You have your receipts. You can leave them in the truck. You can leave them in your purse. But to be a person of integrity and moral character, you immediately would come back to the office. You would put in those transactions, and you would log them. You would say what cash went out, what was purchased, things like that. So there's, tell me about a time that you practiced integrity. Could be a time when you were at a party and there was a person that had had too much to drink, and they were fixing to go home, and that other person that was going to drive them perhaps also had had too much to drink. So you offered your services and drove them home and dropped them off and made sure that they found their way in. That would be an example of a move of integrity. All right. So researching and preparing. So again, when you are researching a company and you're applying, it's so easy to just go through Indeed and anything that says you have an accounting degree, apply, 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 apply. I'm gonna just blast my resume all over the place. Make sure that when you are researching a company, that you understand what that company is. Is it a place that you would be comfortable and that you would be confident at and proud of? So their values really have to be in line with yours. Are you a person that likes to work in a team and you enjoy being around a lot of people, or are you somebody that prefers to maybe work at a desk by yourself in a quiet environment? There's different types of companies, and different companies will make you more and more comfortable, and it's really a second home when you get out in the workforce. So make sure that you enjoy the company and you're proud of it, and that you want to go to work. And if it becomes a point where you don't want to go to work anymore, you probably need to start looking for a new place to interview. Ask yourself, why do you want to work here? Where can you see yourself within the organization? And what transferable skills do you have that would make you a good fit? That second sentence there, where can you see yourself within the organization? Again, that's kind of, where do you see yourself in 5 years? So maybe you're applying for an entry-level position, which most of you probably will be. You might want to know what other jobs are out there within the company so that you could see yourself within the company in 5 years. And in order to know what those positions are, you have to do your research. All right. So know the company and its competition. If it's competition, if they don't hire you, you may go to work for the competition anyways. Know the job that you're applying for. Know what the job description is so that you can speak to those transferable skills that would relate to that job description. Know the people that you're interviewing with. Again, that's kind of speaking to what level of professional they are. If you're interviewing with a CEO, you may want to dress a little more formally. If you're interviewing with a local manager, you may want to dress for the job that you're applying for. Talk to current employees. I have a lot of students that come to work for me that say, oh, I have a buddy that works for you guys out in Pryor, or, oh, my buddy that I went to high school with, and he works in your store in Arkansas. So talking to employees and knowing people and being able to speak of their experiences in an interview will get you a foot in the door, because then it's like, oh, well, they kind of have an idea what they're up against. And it makes the employer think they might just be a fit if their friend is or their family member is. And then also visit the place of business. Again, one, so you know where you're going when you show up, and two, so that you understand the feel of the place that you're going to apply for. All right. One of our marketing managers from Winona, Minnesota, again, interview tips and tricks. Is the applicant on time and dressed appropriately? Does the applicant behave appropriately during the interview? And how well does the applicant answer interview questions? So she is looking for someone who is punctual, who is professionally dressed, who can speak clearly, perhaps gives a nice handshake, that gives nice examples, thought out, well enunciated, and also is prepared. You know, they're not just flying off the seat of their pants. All right. She's cute, isn't she? All right. Again, I tell my daughter all the time, I'm like, be so good that they don't ignore you. Your personality and your professionalism and your examples, your preparedness really will set you apart. So during the interview, punctuality, dress for the position, confidence, and give some smart answers. We're going to go over smart answers. Okay. You all probably understand the difference between casual and professional. There are so many levels in between. Obviously, a suit and tie are appropriate for perhaps a bank opportunity or a corporate type opportunity. A business casual, maybe if you're going to apply somewhere in the retail industry. Walgreens is a big recruiter. I would say business casual would be appropriate. Tuck your shirt in, though. She doesn't have her shirt tucked in that picture, but and then, you know, an example is when people come to my office to interview with me. Again, I don't want people in open-toed high heels. I don't want people in skirts. I don't want people in shorts. People have shown up in shorts to interview with me. Put on a pair of slacks. Put on some nice shoes, closed-toed, always closed-toed. And, you know, whether it be a polo that's tucked in with a belt, or a blouse that's nice, or even a collared shirt, just make an attempt to be clean and professional. Fix your hair, shave, or at least clean up your beard if you have a beard or goatee. Different little things are really important. A person that's not properly presented in their attire and appearance immediately loses points, and that's just human nature. You can't help it. Punctuality is being 15 minutes early. I have always had a problem with that my whole entire life, and now I have 3 kids, so I am almost on time all the time. And that is one of my weaknesses if we want to talk about strengths and weaknesses. So make sure that you start a good habit early in your professional career of ensuring that 15 minutes is on time. 15 minutes early, on time. Dress for the position or the position above what you were applying for. So maybe you were applying for my store as a sales support part-time person, but you know, you may just want to dress like one of my salesmen. And I have had people show up in khaki pants and a blue polo because that is what is all over the Fastenal website. And I give them extra points in my mind for that. And be confident. Again, I said, you know, giving a nice firm handshake. I feel like that's such old school advice, but it's really important. It's important to make eye contact, smile, give that firm handshake, and relax. And if you're nervous, it's okay. People understand, but try and do a relaxing, casual interview. All right, during the interview, we're going to talk about SMART answers. This is something that Hilti taught me, and I am thankful every single day for the training that they gave me when it comes to interviewing, because I feel like it has made me a better person. It's made me more confident in communicating examples to my employers. So SMART, S-M-A-R-T, SMART. S is for the situation. Describe what happened. The metrics, what was expected in that particular instance. A is for action. What did you do? R is for results. What came of it? And T is for tying in. Who or what did it benefit? And tying it back into that job that you're applying it for. So I'm going to give you an example. And actually, this example that I put in here is we've already covered. So the situation, my question was, tell me about something you wanted that you couldn't get in college. I was a fashion marketing major, wanted to open a bridal boutique. My metrics, I wanted to get a job at Kimberly's Prom and Bridal to gain experience for my future. My action, I went to Kimberly's to see if they were hiring. There were no positions available. Continued to check back. Explained to Kim, the owner, why I wanted the position. Results. Kim recognized determination and offered me a position even though she did not need the help. Again, this was, oh goodness, 15 years ago. So I have no hard numbers for you, but you need to have hard numbers when you go into a job interview. So you would say, because I had the job, I was able to sell let's see, a quarter is 12 weeks. I was able to sell 15 dresses a quarter, which was a 20% increase over her prior salesperson. And Kim was able to make more money and be more profitable. That would be a nice example. Working under Kim has taught me that owning a business is very time consuming and risky. I decided that I wanted to work for a company that allowed me to work Monday through Friday during business hours and offered a consistent pay structure. That's one of the reasons I'm interested in coming to work for you today. So again, situation, explain what was expected, what you did to meet those expectations, the result, and then tie it back in. And every single question that is asked in an interview, you can use this SMART answer technique to make sure that you're covering all your bases. Okay, so really any example, anything. During the interview, you're good. Thanks, Sarah. They're looking for your transferable skills. Use your SMART answers. So here are some examples of questions that you would be asked in an interview at any location. You're gonna have a question very similar to these, I guarantee you. Describe your method of prioritizing. So describe the situation, the metrics, action, results, and tie-in. I had multiple events at the university through my community service projects, through my sorority and my classes and work, and I had to make sure that I had all of those done. So I had to prioritize what was most important. I used a planning tool, whether that be my planner or my phone, and you'll come up with your own answer on that. And I was able to determine what was most important, what would take the most time, and execute those in this order to get a result. My result was that I was able to finish them all. I was able to get back and make it to my parents' party that they were having for me, something like that. So I'm very good at prioritizing, and I can bring value to your company by organizing spreadsheets or by coming up with new ways to plan sales calls, to plan any different thing that may be in that particular business. Again, that's just some example that I might have. Tell me about a time you had to do something that you didn't think that you could do. Tell me about a time that you executed a plan. That one is so important. You had a plan yeah, I plan all the time. I'm driving down the road and I think, oh, I would like to go to the Emerald Ball this year. That's my plan. Well, guess what? I have never once executed that plan because things get in the way. Being able to show how you get something done and that you have a plan and you get to the finish of it is very important. I could give you a million examples of that in my business life, but personal life, it's all about the kids and my husband. Describe your leadership abilities. Again, tell me about a time when you led a team to victory. Tell me about a time when you led a group to a cause. And then tell me about a time you had to work with a team. Again, guys, I can't give you great answers for all of these right this second that are going to relate to your world because I'm not you. You have your own lives. You have your own objectives, but you will be asked these type of questions, and it's very important that you're prepared to answer them because it's really hard to come up with a good, well thought out example on the spot. All right, at the end of the interview, so beginning of the interview, before it, you've prepared, you've researched the company, you know who you're going to be talking to, you've talked to people that work there, you're dressed appropriately, you know what job you're applying for, and you know where you want to see yourself within that company. During the interview, you are professional, you make eye contact, you smile, you try and be relaxed, and you have prepared answers using that SMART format. And again, that SMART format is not meant to make you sound like a robot. It's just a way almost for you to be able to write them down in your practice so that you can speak to them when you get asked those questions. And it's over and you're so excited and it's done. And then they say, thank you for your time. Do you have any questions? Every interviewer will ask you that. You need to have questions. You always should have questions. And maybe they talked about some things that you were interested in. You need to know more because you want to see yourself working there. So some questions you could ask. Mr. CEO, thank you for your time today. Can you tell me about your experience here? And he's going to tell you about how he started when he was 18 years old working under his dad, and then they grew their company and now he's the CEO. Or he may say, well, I was working over here and the market crashed and I got unemployed and then I finally got this job and I'm so thankful. And it's nice to hear them talk about their experience because now it's real. They're not this big figure that just is the employer. They're so important. It becomes real and you become connected with that person. Mr. Manager, can you tell me about your typical work day? Oh, well, my work day is, and they go on and on and on and on and on and on about their work day. Okay, well, tell me about a work day that I might have if I were to work here. Or, Mr. Manager, what is your management style? And what kind of employees do you like to work with you? What are the skills and abilities that are most important to succeed in this job? So I told you earlier that Fastenal, teamwork, integrity, ambition, and innovation, that's our core values. If somebody were to ask me, what are the skills and abilities that are most important to succeed in this job? Those would not be the first that would come to mind. Those are important to be a good person and good fit in our company, but to be successful working with me, you need to have a sense of urgency and you need to understand customers' needs. So those two would be what I would speak to that person that asked me those questions. And lastly, ask questions that you really want to know the answers to. Don't just, what were your sales in 2017? Do you care? You should have done your research. Or, okay, when did you start working here? And, you know, that it's about your tone. It's about your inflection and how you really communicate with that person to help them engage with you. Again, we're going to talk about thank yous. Telling the person as you exit the room, oh, you know, you stand up from your chair, you extend your hand, shake their hand. Thank you for your time. I hope to see you soon. Do it. That's not even up for discussion. You absolutely should thank them at that moment, you should shake their hand. But also, it's good to send that follow-up email, follow-up phone call, something to tell them, I haven't forgot about you and I hope that you haven't forgot about me. And don't give up. So you could interview at 5 jobs and not even get a second interview. But that does not mean that you're not good. It just means that you were not the best fit candidate. And again, every single interview is practice for the next. Use it as oh, well, they asked me that question and I did not have a good answer. I think I'm going to go revisit that. I'm going to take some transferable skills and use some smart answers, and I'm going to be prepared for that question next time. Again, that best qualified candidate is that's what it's all about. You may be smarter, you may work harder, you may do all of these things better than some of the other candidates, but maybe that's not exactly the niche that they need filled at this time. You know, sometimes I just need a delivery driver, and I will hire the person that I think will most enjoy driving a truck and having little communication with customers. It's really deliver and drop, deliver and drop. Whereas other times I need a salesperson. So I need somebody that's very social, that can understand needs, that can communicate really well and ask a lot of questions. So just because you did not get the job does not mean you're not great. It just means you weren't the best fit candidate. So use your smart answers, use action verbs in your resume, use those smart answers, and I wish you the best of luck. All right, guys. Are there any questions? I want to open it up. You guys can reach Fastenal online, careers.fastenal.com. If you want to get emails about the job opportunities, you can put your zip code in and open that up to a certain radius, and you'll get automated emails about positions that are available if you're interested in doing that. And again, I'll be happy to talk to anybody about the opportunities that we have. All right. Have I ever been stumped during an interview as the interviewee? If so, how did you handle it? Yes, I have been stumped during an interview. In fact, I mean, just presenting to you guys today, it's really hard, again, when you are coming up with examples on the spot. You know, there are certain examples I tried to give that I wasn't prepared for. And it is difficult at times to come up with an answer. And what I will say to that is, when someone asks you a question that you don't have an immediate response for, you know, just sit there politely, maybe hands in your lap, and breathe. Not like weird breathe where it's awkward, but, you know, just kind of look. And, you know, that's a really difficult question. I'm not sure that I have an answer for that right now. Can we maybe come back to that one in a bit? You could ask to come back to it. Or you could say, you know, I haven't actually had any experiences at this time that I can speak to answer that question. If I think of something, I'll let you know, though. And as an interviewer, I would much rather have someone be 100% honest with me and tell me I have no idea than to come up with some random answer that has nothing to do with it and is not relevant. Thanks, Allison. I hope that answered your question. Anybody else have questions? I appreciate you guys taking time today. It's really, it's nice to know that you guys are engaged in trying to get jobs. Whenever I was in college, again, I graduated in 2006. We had career services, but I didn't even really know what they did, and we weren't engaged with them. And so having that support on a university level is really great. You guys should take advantage of the services that they provide.
Okay, well, if no one has, wait, was there another?
Oh,
There is another question. I do see that.
sure. As an interviewer, what's the biggest deal breaker or turn off when interviewing a candidate? Okay, it's very important to me that people make eye contact. I have hired people that don't make eye contact, but if someone is not able to make eye contact with me as an interviewer, I have concern about what they're going to do in the field with the customers. But that's for me because my people are going to be in a sales environment. They're going to be interacting with people on a day-to-day basis. So what's the biggest deal breaker for me may be different than what it is for someone else. So also how a person is dressed and handling themselves is pretty important to me. But maybe if you're interviewing for a position in a warehouse, that may not be as important. And I would say that that particular question is relative to what job that you are applying to. And it's really important to, again, understand who you're applying with and what company and what job you're applying for. But definitely for me, if a person can't make eye contact with me and look me in the eye, I just don't trust them. Any more questions? Biggest thing that I look for in a resume, thanks, Aaron. You know, a resume is really important when it comes to getting an interview. But once you've got yourself in that interview room, the resume is kind of just a guide for them, something for them to look over. So for me, the most important part of a resume is getting in the door, getting yourself that first interview. So whenever that person looks at the resume, you have to have sold yourself on paper in black and white. So you need to make sure that, again, when your resume better look nice. It better be organized. It should be in chronological order. It should be either bulleted or numbered. Professional formatting is better be. If it's not even looked at. I won't read it. But after I have a pile of reasonable resumes to review, if someone is describing in a bullet point where they worked, how long they worked there, and then after that, they go into detail about what their responsibilities were and how they made a positive impact on that position, then I'm looking at that and I'm reading it going, ooh, I like them. And I almost can have an idea from a resume if I would hire them or not. And that's because they've given me good descriptive action verbs that relate their experience, their transitional skills to the job that they had and how it would relate to the job that they're applying for. So it's very important. Is that good? Does that answer your question? Great. If I don't cover what you're looking for, keep asking me because I can talk a lot. Okay. Catherine, what do you expect to hear when you say to an interview, tell me a little bit about yourself and what's okay to mention and what would be inappropriate? Almost always you will get the question, it's like the common, welcome to my interview, I'm Kristis Eubanks. Welcome, Catherine, Wade, tell me a little bit about yourself. I really, when I ask that question, who are you? I'm Kristis Eubanks. I am an NSU alumni. I graduated in 2006 with a marketing degree. I have a natural knack for leading and managing. I really enjoy sales and getting to know people. I am a mom of 3 little girls, and I have a husband here. He travels a lot, so I share part of the monetary expenses in my household, and I'm really here to look for a job that would help me pay for my life and my shopping habits. That gives an example of your professional goals, your personal life and goals, maybe some hobbies that you have, and priorities. They also will probably often ask you to describe 3 of your core values or what are most important things in your life. And again, being able to talk about yourself on a professional level, but they also want to know you on a personal level because they're interviewing people to welcome into their work family, and they want to make sure that you're a nice fit for that family environment too. So being open and honest about who you are and where you come from, there's nothing wrong with that. And I will tell you that I have been really honest in interviews about my past and my life situation. My mom, I was raised in an alcoholic family, and my mom and dad divorced when I was 8. My mom left, and it was kind of a really rough childhood, and I've spoken to that in interviews before, and I have been in tears in an interview room, and there's nothing wrong with that. Being open and honest when a interviewer is looking for that kind of answer, that's what they want, and it's okay to be that way and to be vulnerable. I watch The Bachelor a lot. It's like my guilty pleasure, and they talk about being vulnerable. And being vulnerable in an interview is appropriate. You know, you still have to be professional, but allowing them to see you and see who you really are is important, because, again, you're going to be part of their team. What would be inappropriate? I used to smoke weed and I don't anymore, but, you know, whatever, man. Or I just graduated from college. I still like to party a lot. You know, things like that are not appropriate. Anything that would make you look unprofessional in any aspect is not appropriate to cover. What else, guys? I love the questions.
Awesome. Well, if there is no more questions, I'll go ahead and take it from here. Thank you so much, Kristi. This was, I know I got a lot of valuable information from this. So I'm really excited we did this. I know there was a little bit of trouble with the PowerPoint at first, but thank you everybody for, you know, kind of hanging in there with us. I did want to close with a few things. If anyone in this webinar has never come to our Career Services office, feel free to stop by if you have any questions whatsoever. Maybe that your resume doesn't really look up to par. Maybe you don't even have a resume. Maybe you're about to go to an interview and you're really nervous. Come do a mock interview with us. We can go over those questions that, you know, Kristi talked about today, what you should answer, what you shouldn't, what you should wear, what you shouldn't, those types of things. So really we want to be there for you and help you be as career ready as possible. So we are located on the Tahlequah campus in the Case building, and on the Broken Arrow campus in the Administrative Services building, Suite 130. So feel free to stop by. We are also going to put this PowerPoint and this webinar on our website. So maybe you tuned in a little late or you didn't catch something that was presented today. That will be on our website. So feel free to kind of check in within the next week, and that PowerPoint will be on there for you to just read for yourself and take that information. And as well as, you know, we'll put Kristi's contact information, and you guys can, you know, reach out to her. She'd be an excellent mentor, and we're just really excited that she was here today. So if there's no more questions, then we are good to go. Do you have any last words or anything, Kristi?
No, I think I'm great. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you so much. Everybody have a great day.